Are these on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. We all have the same color shoes on. I like that. I like it. Coordinate.
Okay, we're going to try to have some fun up here and yet be educational. Let's forget that all these people are out there. It's us four guys talking. We could be at a sports bar having a Coke.
No filter.
No filter. But I'm going to start out, Anthony, by asking you a question. One of the most emotional nights for me, and also educational nights for me, was going to your mom's funeral. Your mom taught for 31 years, and I think in Springfield, Missouri. She taught a lot of special needs kids. The funeral lasted for about 3 hours, but I got a chance to hear person after person after person talk about the influence that your mother had on them. And a lot of these were people that most of us would say we wouldn't necessarily spend time with, but she just looked at everyone as being important. She had a humility. The impact she had, one person had on a community, was amazing. Will you talk a little bit about your mom and her influence on you?
Way to open it up with something light. Jeez. Well, anybody that knows me knows that, my mom was the most influential person in my life, growing up. Of course, had a great relationship with my father as well. But my mom is the reason why, I did everything. She was my biggest fan basketball-wise, but most importantly in the classroom. And so you heard all the accolades. Most of them were academic, and that was strategic. That was what she wanted. And so, the impact that she made, and I'm with you. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I learned a lot about who she was as a person, and the type of impact that she made just that day. I mean, she wasn't a person that would brag or, hell yeah, I helped this person out today, or I did this. It's like, what'd you do? My job, I'm gonna come home and do my other job, take care of you guys. So, I learned a lot about her, and it really kind of set my life on a new trajectory to try and do the same. Just be as impactful of a person as I can. And that didn't really mean, a great basketball player. It just meant just trying to impact as many lives as I can as I go through this thing. And so, hopefully whenever my day comes, it's a 4-hour funeral for all the people who want to, talk about all the ways that I impacted their lives. But I mean, that's just who she was, and it made, obviously a lasting impact on a lot of people.
Anthony, I always hear about this infamous meeting between you and Coach Altman at the end of your sophomore year. 2 things. Did he seriously tell you that you need to look to go somewhere else to play? And was that a turning point for you in your career at Creighton?
Let's go ahead and clear this up. So, this story has been embellished for years. And it's gone from what it was to, oh, you were kicked off the team, weren't you? I'm like, no, I wasn't kicked off the team. We just had a heart-to-heart. It was just one of those, it needed to happen. He gave me the option. He said, hey, if you don't want to, do these things that I have for you, I'll sign the transfer papers. And it's that simple. It wasn't, hey, I already called Missouri State. You can go there. We're going to trade you for somebody else. No, I mean, it was great, though. I mean, that's another, I can look back at my career, basketball, and life. There's many things that, literally changed, my mindset or changed the trajectory of who I became and who I am now. And that meeting was one of those things. And it made me realize, all right, maybe if I stop thinking about just, I want to score, I want to shoot, obviously I can shoot, so I was right on that one. But I want to score, I want the ball, and all this different stuff. And so instead of worrying about all that, I just like, okay, I'm just going to do what you tell me to do. And literally from then on, it was just, sky's the limit. And so now I learned how to do that, and, that helped me to do, what I'm doing now for 12 years in the NBA and, just living my dream.
Anthony, there are a lot of players out here that played for Coach Altman, and anyone that played for Coach Altman knows this is true. He always brings up a former player to all the players that are, you guys don't know, you don't have any idea about Ben Walker, you don't have any idea about Ryan Sears. You probably heard that a lot, but when you left, the people that followed you heard about Anthony Tolliver. Okay, you guys need to play. You don't know about Anthony Tolliver. You need to play like Anthony Tolliver. Talk about the impact that Coach Altman had on you.
Altman, he humbled me, and that was something that was sorely needed. And I think that, sometimes I can help you, and sometimes I can, turn you the other way. And it really helped me. It helped me realize, all right, if you just take a step back, do what your coach tells you to do, things will probably work out, right? And it did. And as soon as I did that, and the things like you talked about, the charges and stuff like that, no one in the NBA wants to take charges. That's why I lead the league in charges all the time. No one wants to do it because.
How many do you have, Doug?
He implemented
Where's Rob?
that.
Where's Rob?
He implemented that. That mindset, and so he made a huge impact on me as a person, and while we were player and coach, I wouldn't say we were great friends, but literally the day that I was done, it was like, oh, hey, bestie, like, how you doing? Like, he was like my best friend. So now we talk all the time, and hey, what's up, coach? How you doing? Go visit him. Now I'm up in Portland, so I'm gonna go visit him in the family. So I would have never done that as a player, though.
And Doug, I didn't take charges either. I tried to take one charge. It got me my third foul, and I had to come out of the game. So I'm with you.
Old gym floor, man. Old gym floor.
Got to stay on the floor. We've heard Anthony talk about his family. Let's talk about your family, Doug. Everybody knows about Coach Mack and your family being a huge part of your journey. Sydney, Nick, Teresa. Did they provide some family normalcy when you would go home, so it wasn't just coach and player? You could kind of snap back into being the McDermotts. Talk about them.
Yeah, definitely. We usually did our team dinners when Mac was recruiting, so it'd be Sid, Nick, my mom, and myself. So we'd always plan our family dinners, maybe when he was out of town. Because, being around him every day, it could be a lot, for sure. It could be a lot. But yeah, obviously they've had such an impact on my career at Creighton. My sister can't make it tonight. She's actually playing volleyball at Northwest Missouri State, so she just started up with that. But she was a trooper. Me growing up, coming to all my AAU games as a kid, and really happy for her and her future. And then my brother Nick, who's here with me, gave me that confidence on the driveway as a little kid. Being able to take him on the block. He didn't really get the big fella's height, so that's kind of where I gained the confidence on the driveway in Cedar Falls, Iowa. But he's actually was with me in Chicago my first few years in the league, and just really helped me transition as I was getting adjusted to everything. And I can't thank him enough for that. And then my mom, she could start her own moving company right now. She's moving from Omaha to Chicago, Chicago to OKC, OKC to New York, New York to Dallas, I think, Dallas to Indy. She just got back from Indiana, so she's done a great job. She was always a great outlet for me in college because she knows nothing about basketball. She comes from a wrestling family, so she was always someone I could just go and just have a good lunch with and not even have to worry about talking about basketball. And then obviously my dad has had a huge impact on everything in my life, and I was just so thankful to play for him for 4 years. And he had me in the basement as I was at Creighton. It's funny you bring up the charges. me and him were in his basement out at Shadow Ridge, and I was literally standing there on the carpet, and he was lowering his shoulder into me after watching film one night, trying to teach me how to take a charge. And it's still, I still don't think it's happened. So I'll be watching some Tolliver clips here. There we go. Leading into training camp, and we'll see if we can get that number up.
So really quick, so Jessica and your mom could start a moving company together because she moves us.
For sure.
Let's talk about
your
that
next
after this. I'm an
business
entrepreneur,
venture.
man.
He's a businessman. You would know him.
We're going in on
For real,
it.
let's do this.
In 2010, when we hired your dad as the basketball coach at the press conference, and I've heard Nick play this on his radio show. I'm glad he's no longer has that show, because he's played this audio clip like 50 times when I said, and now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our new athletic director, Doug McDermott. And I tell people that a good athletic director has the ability to see things before they become obvious to others. But what was your thoughts about coming to Creighton? You had signed a letter of intent at Northern Iowa. I think Coach Jake was your godfather. Your dad had coached there, and now you come to Creighton. Take us through that a little bit.
Well, Dana didn't offer me a full ride, so it made the choice easy.
And he offered Nick one.
Yeah, he offered Nick one and not me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the process. I was an under-recruited guy in high school. I went on 3 visits, Central Florida, Creighton, and Northern Iowa. And, I got to Central Florida with my dad. We were on the visit together when he was at Iowa State. And, the weekend went great. I told him, I'm committing here. There's 5 pools on campus. This is my spot. But he said, let's sleep on it a little bit. And I go to Northern Iowa the next week and talk to Jake, and I commit right there. I was planning on going to Northern Iowa. I had my roommate, everyone. I literally had summer school starting up probably in a few days, and I get the call from my dad saying that he's meeting with you in Des Moines the next day, and asked if I'd be interested in joining him. And I was like, hell yeah, right away. Right away. I already had a previous relationship with D-Rock, who was recruiting me in high school, and he always believed in me. And once I had that opportunity to hop on and be a Creighton Blue Jay, it was a no-brainer.
Now, you've played for your dad for 4 years. Have you got just one favorite story on your dad as a coach?
Yeah, I thought about this. I think it was like the second week I was here in summer school, and all these guys were here, and Caleb and Casey and Daryl, Ashford, a lot of these guys. They didn't really know what I was like, and they probably thought I was this coach's son, coach's pet. And we get done with a really hard practice, and they're all down there in the locker room, probably talking shit about the coaches, everything.
Probably?
Yeah, for sure. And I walk in the room, and everything goes quiet. Like, we have to stop talking, and I stand up in front of the whole group, and I'm like, look, fellas, I'm on your side. Like, I am not on his side. We're all in this together. I will never be on his side. I'm with you guys. So from that day forward, we kind of set the tone, squashed all that awkwardness, and it was a great run.
Yeah. Now, Anthony, you had a roommate for 1 or 2 years that's sitting to your right. What was it like to be Nick Baugh's roommate, and you're talking about having to get the rest of the players on the team to know that you're on their side? What did you do, Anthony, to get the rest of the team to like Nick Bahe?
So, first of all, I don't think I've ever publicly apologized to our neighbors for me and him. Our laughs, if you don't know already, are ridiculous. And when we get together, it gets extra ridiculous. So being roommates with this guy for a couple years, was awesome. You talk about just pure energy. Everybody in here knows Nick. I mean, he's pure energy. And, I like to think that I bring some cool things to the table too. But No, but I mean, it was fun. I mean, we just every day we had a ball. I would cook breakfast, because that's the cheapest meal.
In your underwear.
In my underwear.
Nothing else.
Yeah, yeah, that still happens. We'd watch a whole lot of Martin and Jamie Foxx show. Yep. So, for a lot of people in this room don't know what that is. So that makes
We watched Lost too.
Lost?
Yeah,
Anybody in here
we
Lost?
watched
Lost
too.
fans?
That was
Yeah.
a big thing.
Lost fans? Yeah, it's good. Watched Friends a couple times.
Yeah, a couple of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Maybe one episode of that.
Did you
not
guys
much.
ever study together?
No, we didn't. Study.
Pierce was studying. Pierce was studying.
Pierce was studying. He's a doctor and all that stuff.
Pierce, come out. We're watching Martin.
Yeah, no, it was just pure fun, man. We had a ton of fun. And yeah, that's literally it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It was just casual, man, and it just a lot of fun.
So, being your roommate, one of the most rewarding things, honestly, is seeing Jessica, your wife. I got to be around when your relationship was pretty much just starting. You guys are boyfriend and girlfriend, and you could tell right away these two are going to end up together. And you guys have, and now you guys got a family together. It's just so cool to see it because I was there right when it started. How much have they had an impact on you and being a husband and a father?
They as in who? Jessica?
Jessica and the fam and the kids.
Oh, man.
And her fam.
I mean, it's, you guys are hitting me with some light questions. This is like, all right.
The Nick Ball question was a tough one.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just stuff that, like, I gotta look up, like, I don't want to cry. So, no, I mean, my wife is amazing. She, like I said, she handles everything, and I couldn't do what I do and live my dream without her sacrificing what she does. So, I'm gonna stop there, so I won't cry.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Doug. Yeah, Doug. Yeah.
That's great.
Anthony's got a wife and kids. Anything on the horizon
Still
here?
on the market, still single.
But in all sincerity, Doug, you had an amazing group of teammates. And being able to travel with the team during that time and see you guys behind the scenes, it was special. Austin and Ethan and Grant and everybody was just great. And you guys, that obviously translated onto the court. What was it? What was the special sauce? What clicked with that group?
Oh man, we kind of all came in together. That core. Me and Jahens were roommates right from day one, and we just clicked right from the get-go. I think Coach D-Rock was recruiting Jay as well, and we both had a great relationship with him. So we just had a great little thing going. And half the time, he'd be playing music and typing his papers due like in 4 hours. So I'd have to go somewhere else to Opus to sleep or something. But me and Jay had a great relationship. And then I've known Grant since I've been probably 13, 14 years old. We played on the same AAU team growing up. So when he had the opportunity to transfer back to Creighton, I knew it was going to be special. And obviously really happy for his success now with what he's got going on with OKC's G League. So that's a huge deal for Grant. But going back to your question, we all lived in the same, pretty much dorm, same area. My dad did a great job with, building a culture at Creighton where we were all a family. We got guys from Iowa, and then we got guys from Harlem. Devin Brooks, James Milliken, guys come in, Gregory from Venezuela, and we all just felt like one big family. And I think with what my dad did with setting the culture right away, just made it really easy for guys to buy in and hang out with each other off the floor.
Doug, I try to ask all of our seniors, and I stated earlier that part of our business is to help players improve, individuals improve, not just in their sport, but as people. How did you think you changed from the time you came on campus as a freshman to when you left? What's the biggest changes that occurred as a result of being at Creighton?
Yeah, I think just being around guys like Anthony and Kyle when they come back in the summer, just showing us, kind of paving the way for us, not just on the floor but off the court. When Kyle would come back and do his charity golf outings and we'd go over to North Omaha and help out with Abide and paint the houses, I just felt like we did so much in the community that impacted Omaha in a positive way. And, I look forward to continue to do that as I'm getting older. And I think I just changed from kind of being this introverted kid my freshman year to, starting to expand my horizons, meeting new guys in class, really networking with my business professors. And I just felt like just met so many great people along the way that I, still stay in touch with.
You had so much impact on so many people. What are you most proud of about your time at Creighton?
Just proud of this, seeing everyone come back, not just for me, but for Anthony. I think just seeing so many familiar faces that have helped, build Creighton up. We've come a long way since the old gym. It's crazy, walking around down. We used to never go below 24th Street, and now everything these guys are doing are in a brand new facility. The roof center, just everything that has changed since I've been here. Just so proud of what these guys showed us and what we could show the younger generation and build here, and I think the best is yet to come.
What do give it up. A-Train, simple question. Favorite basketball memory at Creighton? Was it a favorite game, favorite shot? What comes to mind?
Well, I mean, it would have been me hitting the game winner today at the alumni game, but we didn't play with the NBA ball, so I'm gonna blame it on that. The reason why I missed it. I mean that probably would have been number one, but I would say the game winner against Wichita. It was. Still to this day, the only buzzer-beating winning shot I've ever taken, mainly because I never have the ball in my hands. And that play wasn't for me either, so it just worked out really well. Good job, Coach. Way to draw that up. Perfect. I would say that just always sticks out because it was just awesome. I think we were down 23 in the first 6 minutes. I mean, it looked like we're gonna lose by 100, and Coach is like, hey, just keep chipping away. There's no 20-point shots.
10 up, 10 down, 20 up, 20 down.
20 up, 20 down. Keep playing. We're not gonna start that. We're gonna start it was. It's just one of those perseverance games, and it just ended so sweet. It kind of is like my career. It's just continue to chip at it, and good things happen, right? And that's just kind of how it's been for a long time.
What about the Valley tournament your senior year? Because I remember one of the prevailing emotions for us role players was we didn't want to let you and Nate down. We could just feel that you were going to another level, and we didn't want to let you guys down. What do you remember about the Valley tournament? Because we beat a good Southern team in the finals.
Yeah, so that was they were the Achilles heel of Creighton for 4 years. We could not beat them. No. I mean, it was just one of those no matter what happens, how good we were compared to not how it didn't matter. They could have injuries. They still would figure out a way to beat us. Here, away, it didn't matter. And so we finally, it was championship game, senior year. They're nationally ranked 13th. We are not expected to win at all. It's all right, well, it's just going to be more of the same. That's what most people are saying. But we're screw that. We should have beat them 5 or 6 other times. Why not beat them now? And it's just one of those. I can literally remember exerting more energy in that game than maybe any game in my career because I wanted it so bad. And we were able to pull it off. I think I remember Dane Watts having a great game. So Good thing he had a bad game in a tournament. So, no. I just remember him just being awesome and just literally just killing it for us, and just us winning. And I was just like, wow, we did it. Like It was just finishing my career as a Creighton Blue Jay in the Valley with a win against a team I'd never beat before. None of us, Nate had beat them, but the rest of us seniors had never beat before. It was very special.
You have such an interesting career because at Creighton, you were more of a pure center, 5-man. I mean, you'd face up, hit 15-footers, but you played in the paint primarily. You started shooting threes a little bit towards the end of your career, and now, 12 years, you're a three-point specialist in the NBA, a stretch 4. How did that happen? Take me into the first couple years when you finished at Creighton, that journey and how you evolved your game, because it's amazing to watch how you play now.
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of have an old soul and a kind of a forward-thinking mind, and I remember thinking back in middle school, I was told, hey, you're probably going to be 6'8", maybe 6'9" at the most. So I knew I wasn't going to be huge. Like, I know most people think I'm huge, but compared to the NBA standards. And so, I was a really good shooter in high school. They recruited me, and I think they were being honest. I don't know, maybe not Altman. But they recruited me to be a 3-4. Like, hey, we want you to be, come in, be the 4-man, maybe play a little 3, play on the wing, shoot, and do all this different stuff. And just over the years, they didn't recruit. We didn't get a chance to, get bigger guys. And so you're like, you got to anchor this center. And so that was a part of the issue the first couple of years. It's like, no, I don't want to. I want to shoot, So it's just, just going back, thinking back, somebody talked about, the last 2 years, me, locking down on defense and stuff. None of that would have happened without this opportunity. And now, I take pride in being able to guard the Blake Griffins and the different guys that a lot of guys have trouble with on the post because, hey, I had a lot of practice at it, got really good at it, and it's helped, make me a complete player. So, absolutely. But, in the off seasons, it was always about thinking about what am I going to do at the next level. And so you never saw me shooting jump hooks in the off season. It was always threes. It was always facing the basket. Because I always knew, I was like, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to flap my wings and be free. I'm going to shoot some threes.
Great. Doug, what about you? Favorite basketball memory, game, shot? You got a bunch of them, man.
Man, that's tough. There's so many. I think that Raggi game at Villanova is up there. That's something I still probably watch once a week. Whenever I have a rough game or a rough stretch, I'll just throw that on for some good memories, and that was a great one. But I think that one stands up there, and then another one that really meant a lot to me was junior year, beating Wichita at the CenturyLink, whatever it was called then.
At home.
Yeah, at home. In front of you guys, and being able to beat Wichita. Whenever you beat Greg Marshall, it's a great day. So being able to beat them at home and then being able to beat them again in St. Louis the year they went to the Final Four, those are probably two of my favorite ones.
Real quick, you told me something I'd never heard before. There was a little kid during warm-ups at Villanova. Tell everybody the story of the Raggi bomb night where you guys went nuts. This little kid?
Yeah, there's a little kid sitting courtside at Wells Fargo, and in warm-ups, none of us could make a shot. And this kid would just, every time we miss a shot, miss, laughing, right in our face. This little kid with his mom, and we were just so fed up with him. He was in our head. None of us could make a shot. We were all just what is this kid doing? And we get out there. Ethan hits 7 in a row. Jay Wright has to call a timeout. It's 30-5. And I look over at this kid and start kind of bullying him. And he ended up walking out crying. He went up to the concession stand. I had my eyes on him. I felt so bad afterwards. And his mom actually brought him down after the game, and I gave him like my arm sleeve or something. So we made up, but that was just kind of a funny side story that I'll never forget.
Hey, that kid is right here.
Give it up for him. Appreciate the performance, the motivation.
Yeah. Doug, you touched on being recruited by Coach DeVries. I know he did a lot of individual work with you. What did your relationship with Coach DeVries mean to you, and how did he help your development?
He helped me a lot. He was one of the first guys to ever reach out to me in high school. That back then we were doing the BlackBerry Messenger. That's the way we got a hold of each other. So, I always appreciate him for being one of the first ones to reach out. And I think he witnessed my first dunk in my life. We were at an AAU tournament in Milwaukee, and I was coming down the lane and kind of dunked on some guy. And now every time when he sees me dunk in an NBA game, he'll be like, "That looked like 17-year-old Doug." And, and he was like in the stands as an assistant coach, kind of like cheering for me, like. So I'll always remember those days, and just spending a lot of time with him in the gym, at the old gym, and now to see his son Tucker growing up, being 6'6" or whatever he is, it's pretty cool to see, and he's got a great dad to work with.
Yeah,
Real quick, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about an assistant coach that meant a lot to you, and that's Coach Gordy. You should see, you don't get to see it, the pride that guy has in you, because he was the one that recruited you. Yep. Talk about Coach Gordy, your relationship with him, because that guy loves him some Anthony Tolliver.
That's Uncle Gordy, guys. That's my unc, man. Yeah, definitely talked about different people and different things that, for the trajectory of my life and decisions that were made. He's right up there. You look back, it's like if he wasn't a part of the recruiting process, no offense, Altman, probably not going to end up coming to Creighton. When I got here, I thought there were going to be more black people. Gordy, thanks for tricking me into that one. But
you're living with Nick Bahe. Good news, he likes Martin, so there you go.
Hey. You feel me? So, no, but, he's one of those guys that, I told my brother-in-law yesterday, I was like, just be around Gordy for 5 minutes and you'll realize why I came here. And that's just, everybody here knows Gordy, and they know, everybody knows this dude's crazy. He's talking about shooting people the other day. It was the funniest story I've ever heard. But yes, he's amazing. Just the most genuine person you ever meet, and wouldn't have met my wife, wouldn't have had kids. Just think about all the different stuff that, that relationship that started that brought me here. He out-recruited, some big schools. They started coming after me after, I started actually figuring some stuff out with these arms and legs. And, some of these bigger schools, and he kept at it and just kept on me. And I was like, I'm a big relationship guy, and so, I was like, even though these bigger schools are after me, it's, that guy Gordy, he's something's genuine about that guy. There's a lot of coaches that aren't like that. So, he meant a lot, and he still means a lot, and we still kick it, a lot. That's my guy.
Doug, I want to go back to Coach DeVries just for a minute and his development. My oldest daughter had a chance to babysit for Tucker when he was probably 5 years old. They had a Nerf basketball in their living room, and Tucker would go in and shoot layups and free throws, and when he missed, he automatically dropped down and did 5 push-ups.
That's a DeVries.
I don't think he was doing that on his own.
How much did she get for the hour? $5? $5 for the whole hour?
Anthony, you obviously are a man of tremendous faith. Talk about how that impacts how you live your life now, and what what your involvement is in the community and how it will impact you down the road.
My faith is who I am. It impacts every part of what I do on a daily basis, how I approach life, how I approach situations, how even I play basketball. It's somebody who, I keep saying this, there's a lot of people in this room who have impacted my life. It's crazy. So Mike Siegfried is here from AIA, Athletes in Action, and met a couple who was one of the biggest donors to me when I went on my AIA trip with Dane Watts. What I learned on that trip, once again, was something that literally has become a staple in my life, but also in basketball, and it's audience of one. Audience of one, playing for an audience of one, not worrying about stats, not worrying about accolades, or even things like this. People play sometimes for things like this, right? To get lights shined on them, bright lights shined on them, and it's just not, it's never been my focus. But ever since I've took my focus off that stuff, it has just come, right? Just naturally. And so, playing for audience of one, playing for, to glorify God instead of, pleasing coaches and pleasing people, has become my life motto. And it's really helped to simplify a lot of things, which has made me become that much better at everything that I put my hands on. So yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of people in this room that have highly, highly impacted my life, and thank you guys.
So one of your business investments is Active Faith Clothing. How did you get involved with that? Is that your company, or is that somebody talked you into that?
Yeah, so one of my D-League teammates that is my point guard, Lanny Smith, he got a knee injury, blew out his knee, and nowadays, you blow out your knee, you could probably come back and be okay, but it was like a catastrophic, done, hopefully you can walk in the future type knee injury. He came to me with the idea, and he was like, I want to have, athletic wear, like a Nike shirt, but with, positive messages, with Christian messages on it to really share the gospel. You're in the gym, what a perfect opportunity to, talk. You talk to people in the gym quite a bit, but, if you just have a Nike shirt on or whatever, it's like you might not ever have that conversation or that connection. So that in and of itself was what attracted me to it, was just opening new doors to talk about my faith. And it was literally an act of faith to invest into a guy who, he didn't know anything. He was just like, hey, I'm just going to go try to do this. You want to try? I was like, sure, let's try and start a clothing company. What do you do next? I'm like, I don't know. We can maybe figure this out over the next, hopefully 5-10 years. And we're still rolling, it's still going, and things are really, really good, still doing well. So, but that was the biggest thing for me. It was about trying to, impact people for the glory of God through the sport that God blessed me to play. So, I just try and do that not only through the clothing company, but through, other things that I do as well.
That's awesome.
Doug, let me preface this question with the closest I'll ever come to getting in the Creighton Hall of Fame is this right here. So I'm aware of my athletic ability. But you look at, you're not necessarily a 40-inch vertical guy. You're not the biggest, strongest, fastest, but yet you've been able to have a 3,000-point college career, 3-time All-American, Player of the Year, top 15 pick, been in the league for a long time. How? How have you been able to do it? Because I'd imagine one thing you and I have talked about, take everybody into the invisible moments at the old gym where no one was there. It was just you, it was the ball, and it was time to work. Because I'd imagine that was a huge part of it too.
For sure. I've always just had a chip on my shoulder. I think it goes back to a young age when I played high school at Ames High School, and I didn't play varsity till my junior year. And my junior year, I was the sixth man. I wasn't even starting. So just always having that chip on my shoulder, carrying it wherever I've been. Once I got to Creighton, people thought, just the coach's kid. He probably has to redshirt his first year. I've just always had just a little bit of weight on my shoulder that I've carried with me. And, now in the NBA, I've had a chip on my shoulder as well. Being on, 5 teams here in the last 5 years, it gets you to work harder. And I always go back to those old gym days where it's just me in the gym and, Steve Brace telling me to be quiet up there because people are trying to study down here. I always go back to those days, just envisioning, doing those things I was talking about earlier, cutting down the nets in St. Louis, walking across that stage and, shaking Adam Silver's hand. Just stuff that I've always dreamed of as a kid. Playing for the Indiana Pacers was a dream of mine, and here I am. So I don't take it for granted ever. And, I think the best is yet to come with my career, and it's great to have guys like Anthony and Kyle and all these other guys that I know in the NBA that are helping pave the way for me, and it's been a great ride.
Yeah, Doug, at the end of your junior year, you could have gone pro, and yet you decided to come back. Take us through that thought process a little bit. I know it made at least 2 of us in the office really happy.
Yeah, I've never seen 2 guys move so fast to get Rob Anderson to set up the press conference. That was hilarious, but it was different back then. Nowadays you can test the waters, you can go do a couple workouts to see what your draft projection would be, and back then I didn't have that option. It was either you're in or you're out. So it was really tough, and I really had to take my time with it. But going along the process, there were a few teams that said they might take me in this range, and everyone was kind of telling me the whole time, like, it's a weak draft. This would be the right year to leave because next year's draft's loaded. And when I heard that over and over again, I was like, if I'm going to leave for that reason, I'm leaving for the wrong reason because that would be selfish of me, and I just think. I think that chip on my shoulder was still there because I'm like, I think I can go higher next year than what I'm projected this year. And I just really wanted to prove people wrong in that regard. And I think I was projected probably 25 to 30 that year after that year, and I ended up going 11. So I fulfilled everything and helped bring Creighton into the Big East. And that was a tough decision. It took way too long. I hate to put you guys through all that. But it was the best decision I've ever made, and I remember Kyle Korver telling me, you can't put a price tag on a senior year of college, and he was right.
I think that was the last time my vertical exceeded like 6 inches.
For sure.
Anthony, I asked you a little bit about active faith and your faith. You're involved outside of the NBA in so many things. What drives you to do that? Talk a little bit about some of these things. You're involved with youth. You got kid casters. You got youth camps. You got the big blankets. I mean, what motivates you outside of basketball to be involved in all these things? And talk a little bit about what you're doing outside of basketball.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't have enough time to go over my whole business stuff, all the business stuff I do. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I have a passion for it. I'm a serial entrepreneur. But, I just, seek out great opportunities and unique opportunities. And I'm about niche products and niche, areas of business. So you look at everything that I do, pretty much is something that's very unique. Like you said, big blanket. Me and Dane Watts started a company called Big Blanket. Made literally the biggest blankets in the world. Why? Because we're huge. So why in the heck do we want these little tiny blankets? Seriously, like, sounds simple, but I mean, a lot of people love them, right? So yeah, I mean, and Kid Casters is a kids fishing company. I don't fish. I just loved the opportunity when it was presented. And actually, one of my business partners is here from there. His name is Ralph Kastner. We're business partners for that. I mean, so I have a lot of business partners in here too. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, I just like to. It's a lot of fun for me. It's startup businesses are a lot like, kind of like Doug said, chip on your shoulder. People tell you can't do something. What are the chances of making it to the NBA? I mean, 1 out of however many millions of people, right, per one person in the NBA. Well, I think that's part of the reason why I'm attracted to startups and stuff like that, is because the chances of you actually making it are very slim. But hey, I've already done it once, so I feel like I can continue to do this. And it's being an entrepreneur. It's about hard work. And the only reason why I'm sitting up here today was not because I was just naturally talented and everything else. As you guys all know, my freshman year I couldn't even catch a ball. So it was about hard work. And so I'm like, if it's about hard work and about just being creative, I feel like I can go kill it in the business world too. And so yeah, I mean, I do that. Just got a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot. And, once again, my wife is super supportive and all that as well, and allows me to have freedom to do that while still, having all these kids running around in circles. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Doug, I think most players, when they're done, they appreciate their coach more after the fact. Man, he was right with that. He was right with that. What's that been like with Coach Mack after you've been away for 5 years now? When you think about Coach McDermott, what stands out to you in terms of his coaching that you appreciate?
I think it really hit me the other day, and even tonight, just coming back to Creighton and working out in the summer and walking in those locker rooms and, seeing all these guys from different backgrounds, and it's like nothing's changed. Like, I feel like I could fit in with this group, and I just think it speaks volumes to the kinds of young men he's bringing into Omaha every year. He cares way more about what they're doing off the floor than on the floor, and I think that's just something that's always stuck with him from wherever he's been. And I just think it speaks volumes to what him and his staff have done here, building a culture. And I think they're going to get over that hump very soon. I think they got a lot of great kids, very talented kids, and the Big East hasn't changed the kind of character guys that we brought in. And I think when you watch the games, you can tell that you see a bunch of guys that are playing for their head coach and love him.
We could probably continue this for a couple hours, but we're going to cut this off. But I hope we accomplished one thing, and that is for you to see that these two young men are not just outstanding basketball players. They're not just outstanding players, a part of great basketball teams. When we look at what we want to see in terms of not only our student athletes, but students at Creighton, in terms of the character and the passion and the intelligence and your leadership in your family and your business and your community, you two are tremendous representatives of all of that. And so we thank you. This is a tremendous night. It is with great pride that we're going to induct you into the Creighton University Hall of Fame. I'm going to have Mark Burgers bring the plaques up, but again, let's have one more ovation for Anthony Tolliver and Doug McDermott.